are allowed to think big and dream big. How to generate different systems. Systems that provide stability and are nested within the harmony of nature. I'm excited to explore with you the intriguing bandwidth of information our researchers and friends have surfaced. Let's dive into our next topic to find out how we can actively shape a future worth pursuing and living for.
Hello to the podcast episode, System Change, how art and sustainability can be a key implementation lever. What is the significance of art for the transformation of our society towards more sustainability? When we think about sustainability, images of climate conferences, politicians, and activists come to mind. We do not directly associate theaters, photographs, or songwriters with the term. Maybe it's because the topic is often about facts and figures. Will the 1.5 degree target be met? How many gigawatts of electricity is e-mobility short? What is the ecological footprint of our coffee consumption? However, at the second glance, it becomes clear what an important role artists play in advancing the processes towards global sustainability. It's precisely because art can build the bridge from empirical facts to the associated non-measurable emotions that it serves as an infallible mouthpiece for people to point out what the debate about more sustainability is really about. Namely, less about making more precise predictions for the future or abstract cost calculations, but rather about ensuring the well-being of all of us and our future generations, and promoting life in harmony with nature. What both terms, art and sustainability, definitely have in common is the fact that there is probably no common understanding of either way it begins or way it ends. However, while the definition of art is in the eye of the beholder, the word sustainability generally refers to the concept of sustainable development that meets the needs of the present without risking the future generation will not be able to meet their needs. With regard to carbon dioxide, which is pumped into the atmosphere from deep layers of the earth through the irreversible burning of fossil fuels, it is easy to say that these processes are unsustainable and that the livelihoods and the quality of life of future generations will be irreversibly destroyed. But can we foresee all the needs of the future humanity? And how do we know whether our own actions are really sustainable in our globalized world, full of non-transparent production change, corruption and greenwashing? How much conventionality is allowed to still be sustainable enough? So is sustainability also in the eye of the beholder? Art can sometimes provide better answers than scientists and politicals to questions about what sustainability really means, where it begins and ends, the transformation towards something new, and our own definition of what the new is, in the first place, requires us to change our perspective, to let our feelings be fixed and free, and to think outside the box. Artistic representations of utopias and vision can provide inspiration. They can shape both individual and societal steps towards more sustainability. In practice, this could be an innovative design for an energy-efficient tiny house, for example, or a smart city concept that aims to network an entire city in order to make the transport infrastructure more efficient. It is not without reason that the chief positions of the innovation labs of the large cities such as Tokyo and Mexico City are filled by influential artists. At the same time, works of a dystopian future can also increase pressure on politicians for more sustainable development. There are empirical studies that show that the so-called cli-fi, or climate fiction, which summarize works set in an apocalypse triggered by climate change, can lead to commitment in the environmental field or even to environmental activism. Activism already uses art as a means to overrule, for example, the objectivity of a context or critical voices through emotionality. It has long been clear that activism has an influential and important force and role in the debate about greater sustainability and climate justice. Even If it's not always clear whether pure activism will convince the public of a certain course, it leads to topics such as climate change or the green transport revolution having a much higher priority in the media, at the family's table dinner, or at the political agenda. Art in activism is not limited to rhymes on cards or wall graffitis. For the term artivism has long been used to describe works of art that clearly criticize politics or society. An example of the artistic demand for more ecological sustainability is given by Spencer Tunick together with the environmental organization Greenpeace. In an installation from 2007, 600 naked people stand on a glacier in Switzerland. The aim was to draw attention to the vulnerability of the ecosystem and to the man-made global warming. Banksy's works also draw attention to problems in the world, thus regularly attracting great attention worldwide and attempting to shake the humanity awake. Through art, the current political situation can and will be reflected and criticized. Thus, art can be attributed a mind-expanding effect that draws attention to problems and challenges. At the same time, through its abstractiveness and ambiguity, art speaks a different language than empirical facts and thus prevents simplistic black-and-white thinking. For example, the problem of rising greenhouse gases or decreasing natural resources is not represented in art in a graphic by a line, but rather an authentic human perspective on the problem is shown through images or words. As already mentioned, art can be more than just a reflection on the current situation. With visionary graphs and new perspectives, it can go a step further and provide courage and inspiration for new ideas. Karl Marx, in his time, one of the protagonists of the workers' movement and thus an important co-creator of a major social transformation, probably once said, "Art is not a mirror to hold up the reality, but a hammer with which to shape it." The fact that artists are driving the transformation process towards a more sustainable society can be seen in the Zukunftsküche in Wuppertal. Here, a new place of exchange has been created in a vacant gastronomic space where artists and scientists can enter into a dialogue and jointly search for synergies. In this way, both sides can benefit from each other, for example, by trying out new techniques, recycling materials, or simply by thinking outside the box. In addition, the Pina Bausch Center, a dance theater, is scheduled to open in Wuppertal by 2027. Until the opening, the center is planning the project the Pina Bausch Center as a holistic, sustainable approach, funded by the Zero Climate Neutral Art and Culture Project program of the German Federal Culture Foundation, with the goal of implementing sustainability from the ground up in status, resources, economics, personal, and content. To this end, workshops are to be organized in cooperation with the Wuppertal Institute for Climate, Environment and Energy on sustainable topics such as sustainability in stage design, efficient material selection, circular economy, or new scenographic working methods. Furthermore, within the framework of the Green Cultural Lab Wuppertal, new debates between involved actors, for example, cultural or urban actors and students, shall be stimulated. Networks shall be established and a common vision for the future of the city shall be developed. As sustainability topics are not only discussed at academic science conferences or in politically charged TV talk shows, but also take place in public institutions, the access to the discourse is much lower and participatory. For example, an art exhibition, such as the one by Anis Duyak on the topic of land grabbing in the Global South, which will soon start in Cologne, can rather visualize the real problem and the situation to the visitors, and also convey the important impression that we all can have an influence on global problems as well as on the solution and changes. The use of emotions and memories in combination with the ambiguity make the problem appear closer than a discourse on the topic through the sober scientific language or the analysis of politicians prepared to a coming election campaign. The necessary transformation process can thus take place in a more inclusive way for all groups of society and promote a mutual exchange. However, this is also the greatest challenge of the symbiosis of art and sustainable transformation. Art often speaks a language that is not accessible to everyone. Whether it's an elitist flavor of cultural events, high admission prices, or a marketing strategy that always appeals to the same target group, if art is reserved for only one section of the population, it cannot develop its full impact. In summary, the question remains to be answered. So how can art contribute to systematic change? If it succeeds in reaching an audience that represents large parts of the population, then art can be a motor of transformation processes. The limitless possibilities of artistic activity offer the opportunity to create innovation, to provide new perspectives on challenges, and to involve the whole of society, and it needs in the process towards greater sustainability. For this to happen, the impact of art must be perceived and understood. In this way, ideas for sustainable action can emerge, challenges can be perceived emotionally, and solutions can be developed so that the next generations do not have worse living conditions than we do. What Bertolt Brecht said about modern theater could apply to any work of art. It must be judged not by how far it satisfies the audience habits, but by how far it changed them.